Hello and welcome. This is the latest March to Match Day, match 11 of the 5th season of March to Match Day. FC Cincinnati versus Columbus Crew for the latest edition of Hell is Real. Tonight, you might. Well, first of all, you're asking, where's Boston? Where's the long monologue soliloquy? You know what? He's not here tonight. He's still stuck on technical support, being a good husband for his missus. So it's just yours truly, Brad Weigel. And I'm joined this week by the Massive Report's Ari Benatar. Ari's been covering the club, and you guys have probably heard him. He was on our show last year. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and let's just welcome in our guest, Ori. How's it going, man? How you been?
Going good. It's been good. Quite a year it's been. I think the last time I was on here, the Hell is Real match number 2 or 3, I think, of last year, because they played 4 times.
So much.
Yay. Thank you, COVID. But yeah, Columbus Crew, MLS Cup champion since I was last on here, had a rebrand, had a second rebrand, opened a new stadium, closed an old stadium. So a lot's been going on. But yeah, I've been good. It's been a fun start to the MLS season, and we're in the thick of the summer now. Points are going to start being really, really, really important.
All right. Well, first of all, how can you tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you?
Well, to get in touch with me, I'll give you my address. No address. I'll give you my Twitter handle, obenatar512. That's OBENATAR 512. I tweet out, crew news, MLS stuff, a lot of other soccer things, some occasional other sports here and there. But of course, all the articles I type out for the massivereport.com, best Columbus Crew blog out there, part of the SB Nation family. You get some, good in-depth reporting from myself and other reporters, and some blog posts as well for some fan coverage too. So this week, it looks like we could have some stories about the fan experiences at lower.com Field's opener. And, just in general, we keep the Crew coverage very extensive over there. So go check out massivereport.com. And yeah, follow me on Twitter if you want to chat soccer. I'm tweeting a lot about the Euros when I'm not tweeting about the Crew. Hell of a semifinal that we saw between Italy and Spain. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So who do you have tomorrow? You got Denmark? Do you have England?
I think Denmark's going to pull it off. I think they're riding this great wave of a story with the momentum and the motivation to play for Christian Eriksen after what he went through in the first game. And it's not coming home. I think Denmark spoils that day, but I do see why people would favor England. They're at home, and there's not many supporters from Denmark or Italy that can really get to England because of the COVID stuff. So it's going to be a very, England heavy game at Wembley. I mean, they're at home. It's their home stadium. So, but I'm just hoping for a good game and a good final on Sunday. And then maybe Saturday, a Brazil-Argentina Copa America final too, with Gold Cup and Hell is Real on Friday. The soccer this weekend is going to be off the chain.
So much soccer, dude. It's awesome. It's a great time to be a fan of the beautiful game in this country, because you just mentioned it. New home. First off, in the big city, in the capital city, Columbus, you guys have a new stadium. We call it down here the Belt Buckle. You call it lower.com Stadium or Field, and it opened this weekend. Mm-hmm. How was it?
It was amazing. And I got the opportunity to tour the stadium, once or twice before the opener on Saturday. And we walked through seeing all the suites and the stands and the beautiful pitch and everything, all the amenities, the way that the stadium was built. And it is a perfect place. It's a dream come true for Crew supporters, the Columbus ownership, I think, in Major League Soccer. Because if you think about it, this is the first team that's now opened 2 specific soccer stadiums. Of course, with Crew Stadium in 1999, and now with lower.com Field in 2021. So it's sort of the first stadium in the second generation of MLS stadiums. And it is a world-class facility. And Saturday's game was remarkable, sitting at the top of the press box, seeing, the amazing atmosphere from Nordeca and the rest of the fans, a sold-out crowd, fireworks going off for the 4th of July, and a very entertaining game to add to that. It was just a remarkable atmosphere. And honestly, as somebody who's grown up watching the sport his whole life and went to games at Crew Stadium, I can speak for myself and, the other Massive Report people that were in Nordeca or were in the press box. This stadium is an absolutely beautiful place and a crown jewel of the city. And it's amazing that is the new home of the Columbus Crew right in the Arena District in downtown. And that place is going to, host some great Crew games and fingers crossed some U.S. men's national team versus Mexico games. Hopefully in November, that's where that U.S. Mexico World Cup qualifier is going to be.
They can't screw that up, can they? Or
it's going to be Columbus, or it's going to be in St. Paul. At Allianz Field. I think those are the only two options. But for me, if MLS pulls the plug, well, it's not really MLS, it's US, the Soccer Federation. We know the US-Canada game is going to be in Nashville, which is going to be a crazy atmosphere at Nissan Stadium in September for a big game because Canada's really good. It's got to be in Columbus.
Yeah, I understand. I love the history, and it's a great facility. I think if they didn't build a new facility, I would have been all about for moving that specific game. But I think there'd be some Cincinnati fans who might like to have a little bit of shot at that. And I just might throw our hats in the ring. 26,000, strong, and about double the suite capacities. And you know how the U.S. Soccer likes making that money. So we'll see. But we'll see. Long story short, isn't it great how many options there are? Like,
it is. It's the Midwest now. I mean, you look at all of the great soccer stadiums just in the Midwest region with TQL and Lower.com Field right here in Ohio. Nashville's building a brand new stadium. You'll have St. Louis City SC's new stadium pretty soon. St. Paul and, Allianz Field is very nice. And then if you stretch out a little further from the Midwest, I would say, you're looking at a place like Sporting Kansas City, Children's Mercy Park, going to host some Gold Cup games. So, but if U.S. is playing Mexico, it has to be in the Midwest. You can't play out in the West Coast. You can't play in Austin. It just creates a little bit less of a home field advantage for the United States. We've seen that in Gold Cup with Mexico, USA playing games at the Rose Bowl and how that was just not a home game for the U.S. We kind of saw that in Denver with the CONCACAF Nations League final. Mexican fans really showed up in droves for that game too. So it's got to be in Columbus. If it's not, it'll be very upsetting.
It's a great problem to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Great problem to have.
Good way to put it.
Right, so let's set the stage for this match. Last weekend, FC Cincinnati drew 1-1 with their fourth straight match on the road, getting a result. The 3 wins and a draw. Their last 4 road games puts them on 11 points and 11th place in the East. Columbus drew 2-2 in their stadium opener this week. They're sitting 9th in the East on 16 points. 9th kind of sounds a little bit brutal, kind of sounds like they're struggling, but if you think about it, only 3 points separates third place from 9th. As Ari mentioned, if you guys need a reminder, been a lot of hell is real so far. Columbus holds the edge 3-2-2. Yes, we are counting that 2017 US Open Cup match, but FC Cincinnati got the last win in there. So
it's true.
Can't forget that at Nippert.
Yeah,
we got one.
Last year, there were 4 Hell is Reals in 3 different locations. Mm-hmm. Now there's going to be 2 Hell is Reals in 2 new locations. But Columbus got the wins in Orlando and Columbus, and then they weren't able to get the job done at Nippert. Famously, at least within Crew circles, the Columbus Crew won MLS Cup last year without winning a game on the road. That's not going to be the case this year because they do have at least one road win, but obviously the last game wasn't a victory, a 2-1 win for Cincinnati. They got one on Columbus and what was one of their worst performances of last season.
Well, now let's kick things over to 2021. What's been the main story so far for Columbus?
Well, I think the fact that, so many people were talking about this team during the offseason and as the season started about the amazing depth. Columbus had such a great offseason signing, the likes of Kevin Molino and Bradley Wright Phillips and Alex Matan from Romania. Perry Kitchen is a great depth piece in center mid. Someone like Marlon Hairston, who is a very good versatile player. You're going to be seeing a lot more of him now when we talk about all the players that are injured and are gone from the Crew. But, a lot of people were expecting this team to be, out of the gates unbelievable. But CONCACAF Champions League and injuries kind of threw a wrench into the mix. Obviously, seeing Aiden Morris get hurt early on just did not help. That was kind of a sign of things to come with a lot of players getting hurt during the early parts of the season. No Kevin Molino for the first 2 months. Milton Valenzuela picked up an injury after he scored in that, very exciting game against Monterrey in the Champions League. But, since Champions League's ended, the results and the performances have been improving a little bit here and there. The results have been coming slowly but steadily. But for the most part, I would say the biggest storyline in terms of the play on the field is just the lack of, clinical finishing in front of goal. The Crew entering the Revolution match, and I would think that it is still the case now, has the lowest expected goals in Major League Soccer. This team's only scored 11 times this year. They're not very adept and very good at creating great opportunities for themselves. I think they did that a lot better in Saturday's game at Lower.com Field against the Revolution. They probably, they had some really high XG chances, but this team has just not been able to really put the ball in the back of the net on the opportunities that are there for them. 11 goals this season. Jossie Zardes has 4 of them. Lucas Zelarayan has 3 free kicks. You've got 1 Luis Diaz 80-yard breakaway, and now 3 own goals, because the last goal Columbus scored was that absolutely ridiculous own goal.
Yes.
To get the point in their stadium opener. Liam Fraser just launches a ball from the back. It hits off the head of Farrell without him knowing, and it just rolls into the net. I didn't think that I could see a weirder own goal than that, but I don't know if that's ever going to be topped.
Well, let's just talk a little bit about, you mentioned the guys missing this weekend. You mentioned we've got injuries, you got Gold Cup. How much behind the 8 ball are the Crew going to be this weekend?
Pretty behind the 8 ball. And Caleb Porter said that this month is going to be a bit of a struggle with the amount of guys that are out. Injury-wise, things are improving a little bit. We'll have to see what the status of Milton Valenzuela is. He got hurt in the first half in the New England game. He had to come off early, so we have to see whether or not he's going to be healthy and fit. But no, Artur has been a big loss for them. That's why you've seen Liam Fraser step in at center mid. But Liam Fraser is one of the 5 Crew players off to play for the Gold Cup, which starts this weekend. Fraser, part of the Canadian national team, but then you've also got Derek Etienne Jr. with Haiti, Kevin Molino with Trinidad and Tobago. Both those guys got their teams to the group stages, so they're going to be gone for longer. But then you have the 2 biggest absences, starting goalkeeper Aloy Room with Curaçao. So Evan Bush will step in as the starting keeper. I think a very capable seasoned backup, a veteran of Major League Soccer, Ohio native. His only game with the Crew was a clean sheet against Chicago, so I think he's going to be a good goalkeeper to come in for Room. But then, to me, the biggest loss is Jossie Zardes, selected for the U.S. men's national team. Of course, all the really the top players for the U.S. men's national team, all the guys that play in Europe are getting the summer off to focus on World Cup qualifiers. They got to play in preseason for their European clubs so they can get game time and get ready for their club season. So that's why you're seeing a big MLS presence for the U.S. men's national team in Gold Cup. And, of course, Jossie Zardes is one of them. Greg Berhalter was a manager of Jossie's at the Crew before Caleb Porter stepped in. And Jossie Zardes has started to find his form a little bit in MLS. He has scored 4 of the Crew's last 5 goals, had his best game against the Revolution, Caleb Porter said, and I think most of us agreed with him. I think Zardes played really, really well in that lower.com field opener on Saturday. And the fact that he's gone and the striker position is a little bit of a question mark right now because Bradley Wright Phillips is also injured. So that meant that they had to recall Miguel Berry, their first-round draft pick from 2020. They recalled him from San Diego Loyal out in USL. So he might have to start this Hell is Real game unless Caleb Porter wants to get weird and start Matan or Diaz at striker. But it's definitely going to be an adjustment period for the team. They're going to have to get a little bit creative with the midfield and the attacking lineup. At least defensively, it's pretty much almost fully healthy, apart from Valenzuela if he's gone for a while. But this is going to be an important month of July. The Crew's going to have to pick up some points here and there, but not having your top goal scorer, not having your top goalkeeper, and some other important depth pieces, it certainly doesn't help.
So you mentioned there's really little, if any, striker depth. Do you think that Caleb Porter might have to shift out of his normal 4-2-3-1 formation, or do you think he's still going to try to just push through, just keep the guys going forward? Do you think there's going to be any change in how they're going to set up?
I'd be surprised. I mean, in the time that I've covered the team and in the time Caleb Porter's been manager as well for the last 2.5 years, 4-2-3-1 is usually the formation we see. Sometimes it'd be nice to see 2 up top, but obviously if you can't even field 1 up top, then don't play 2 up top. I don't think he'll play with a false 9. I would expect the same formation. I think if he's not starting Miguel Berry on Friday against Cincinnati, as the only sort of natural striker healthy on the roster, because I don't think Wright Phillips is going to be fully fit for the game on Friday, then I don't know who you put up there. To me, you put up, Diaz, Matan, maybe Santos. Santos has proven he can play almost anywhere on the field. He's played center mid, left back, and on the wing this year and at the 10. So maybe he can play up at the 9. So I think he sticks with the 4-2-3-1. I think he's just going to use the guys that he has. And I think he's confident in the pieces that he still has on the team. You still have, Hairston and Kitchen and Matan and Santos. Zelarayan is obviously still there, which is huge for them. So I think he's confident in his guys. And after playing that well against the Revolution, they really dominated that game, should have probably won the game. He's feeling good about this game probably on Friday. And then, the coming weeks ahead, especially after Friday's game, 2 straight home games within a 4 or 5 day span against New York City and Nashville.
So a lot of FC Cincinnati fans were very familiar with the Crew. They're on a lot of our cable networks every weekend. 90 minutes away, played them 4 times last year. So normally I ask, who's a player to watch out for? But maybe tell us, who's a player or two maybe we're not as familiar with? Like you mentioned Hairston. And tell us how they're going to impact the game.
Well, first, I want to ask you, do you see the Crew more on TV or Austin FC? Because I feel like every time I'm flicking through my sports channels, Austin FC is on ESPN. TV. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I specifically try to not watch those guys. I have big time issues with that. But yes, I have seen them on my screen. But I'll tell you what, with the way how things have gone this year, I haven't really watched a ton of either one of them. So I'm interested to see how Columbus is going to look, especially with a lot of the new faces we're going to see.
Right. And, some of those faces that I think people should look out for that they might not be too familiar with. Personally, I'm looking at central midfield, whoever starts with Darlington Nagbe with Artur still injured. You got someone like Marlon Hairston, who's a really, really versatile player. He's had a success in his MLS career at right back when he was at Colorado, when he was younger, coming out of college from Louisville. And he's had to sort of shift as the center mid. And he came into the Crew as sort of a right back project, learning under Harrison Aful. He got injured. So Caleb Porter had to make Caleb Porter and the, Crew staff made the decision. We're going to side Saad Abdul Salam as a new right back. And they kind of saw the way that he played, former Cincinnati player, former Seattle player as well. He was reliable as a right back and played really well. So that made sense for him to be the natural second backup to, Harrison Aful. So they sort of shifted Harrison to center mid, and Hairston showed some promise in center mid, played really well against Philly and Austin. Didn't have his best showing against New England, but he's going to have to play a lot more. And then also Perry Kitchen. I think the return of Perry Kitchen is going to be really significant for the Crew. His only game for the team in MLS play was the opener against Philly back in mid-April. I thought he played fantastic. He showed real leadership in that game, real, true defensive abilities. He's an MLS experienced guy, and he really can allow Darlington Nagbe to advance further because Nagbe doesn't have to, maybe come back as much to defend. Whereas Artur is a pretty good defensive midfielder as well, but he's not as much of a true, box-to-box 6 as someone like Perry Kitchen is. And then Marlon Hairston also is more of an advancing playmaking center mid, that can go box-to-box and attack as well. So one of those two guys, whoever's starting with Darlington Nagbe, is going to be someone to watch because, out in the wings, we know about Diaz, very fast, good dribbler, just doesn't have the finishing product when he's, in front of goal. Pedro Santos, he hasn't found the goals and the assists as much this season. Obviously from left back, he got some assists, but he hasn't scored yet this year. But he's still been playing well, affects the game in a positive manner. And then whether or not Zelarayan can finally affect, the game in open play that results in a goal, because his only 3 goals this year are from free kicks.
So what you're saying is that a lot of the guys are going to try to earn fouls outside of the box.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that was funny because people, were, tweeting or whatever. We started talking about the discussions after Zelarayan scored those 2 free kicks against New York City to get the Crew its first road win in 15 months. Everyone's like, well, that's it. No one's fouling anybody outside the box for the rest of the season. Zelarayan's not getting another free kick. He's had a few more. He hasn't scored another one yet, but yeah, Jeff Cameron, whoever's in defense for Cincinnati, just don't foul anyone outside the box. Then that you're in a good position maybe to not concede.
So what's the key to the match? What are you looking for Columbus if they're going to get the win?
I would have to say capitalizing. I know it's cliche, but capitalizing on their chances, because that's not something they've been doing this year enough. They're starting to get better at creating better chances, high XG opportunities, but they really need to convert them. And I look back to Saturday's game and think about the first 120 seconds of that match. Luis Diaz could have scored in 30 seconds, misses a shot near post. Harrison Aful could have scored after 120 seconds, also missed a shot at his near post. So that's something the Crew really needs to do, but that's going to be a lot harder without Gyasi Zardes, your best goal scorer, out on the pitch. And, maybe it's an opportunity for someone like Miguel Berry to, become a Crew, folk hero and come out with a huge performance in Cincinnati and maybe score a goal. But I think also Zelarayan needs to be able to affect the game, at least by helping create more goal scoring opportunities, not just him shooting from outside the box or getting free kicks, but trying to get good through balls into Diaz and Santos. And it's possible that if Miguel Berry starts up top and without Jossy Zardes, Caleb Porter might tell Diaz, Santos, Matan, whoever's playing on the wings, try and get more inverted runs, cut inside towards the middle rather than staying out on the wings to get those crosses. And that might put more pressure on whoever's playing right back and left back, probably going to be Aful and Valenzuela or Francis, to get even more crosses in from out on the wings. So the key is be clinical. They got to be clinical in front of goal, because if they can be clinical, then they can score a ton of goals. I think defensively things are, for the most part, okay. They didn't have a great defensive showing against New England in those first 30 minutes, picked it up after that, but got to be clinical in front of goal. That's the key.
Awesome. Ori, before we get into our predictions, do you have any questions about Cincinnati for me?
The fact that you guys have not lost on the road in your last 4, but have lost your first 3 matches at home is certainly confusing. But I am kind of curious, because obviously Cincinnati's had these big signings with Brenner and Acosta and Jeff Cameron. I know Acosta's affected the game really well. He's had some good ratings this year. Jeff Cameron's come in and been a positive impact defensively. But I'm curious your thoughts on Brenner. Only 1 goal this year, came in that Nashville game in the opener. But other than that, has he shown that he can affect the game in a positive manner without scoring?
Yeah, I would say he's a lot of quality on the ball. I think, unfortunately, the way this season has gone so far, it's literally been a work in progress. And I've said this on the main show last night, and I said that a couple times on March Match Day. About 6 or 7 matches ago, we finally started to see building blocks put in place. We call it AC after Cameron. So when Jeff Cameron came in, he steadied that back line. And then with him in there and kind of being that field general, you started to see the midfield and the positioning of the midfielders get together. So they stopped giving up those easy chances, exposing the back line. And then now you're starting to see chances getting created. Now you're starting to see better finishing. And now last week, and even in the second half before that, you started to see Brenner get the ball higher up in the field. He was dropping way too deep just to try to affect the game somehow, because he wasn't getting any opportunities. So I think now you're starting to see that build, and that's our next step for FC Cincinnati to be have a chance to win week in and week out. Mm-hmm. I think we are seeing things we can clearly identify, check off. Yes, it's showing in my eyes. Yes, it's showing in the stats. They're making a lot of progress. I don't believe they're a automatic 3 points for a lot of teams heading into the matches week in and week out. So I think it'll be there. You mentioned the home results versus away results. I do think it's a little bit tough, because they lost last second to Inter Miami in the opener. They lost late to New England. And then while they lost 2-0 versus Colorado, arguably we looked pretty good that game. We just gave up 2 unfortunate goals there. So you're starting to see the team turn. Now they'll be missing Alan Cruz and Ronald Matarrita this week, but they'll still have Brenner. They'll still have Lucho Acosta. They'll still have Barrial and Atonga. So they're still going to keep a lot of that starting 11 the same. But we'll see. I think if Jaap Stam, I said this on the show this weekend, I think it's must win for Jaap Stam. And I mean that not as he's going to lose his job tomorrow. I mean that is if he wants to get a contract for next season, he's got to win games like these. You're playing this is going to arguably be the most depleted Crew team you're going to see all year, because I'm not sure Valenzuela is going to play. You're seeing all those Gold Cup guys. Artur's still not quite back healthy. These are 3 points for the taking for FC Cincinnati at home on a Friday night where it's going to be crazy. I'm already talking to so many people that are heading down there early, taking half days at work. It's going to be a great atmosphere. And, hell is real with the first time I would say that both teams have a fighting chance to win.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing's for certain, though. FC Cincinnati is not the worst team in MLS. That belongs right now to Toronto FC pretty comfortably. What a horrible week for them, losing 7-1 to DC United and then their head coach getting fired. So the fact that we're here sitting in July of 2021 talking about FC Cincinnati being better than Toronto FC, that's got to be a huge positive outlook for you guys, considering, the wooden spoon years might be past you.
It's literally it's not a high bar right now in Cincinnati. like for the fans, they were calling for Jaap Stam's head after about 3-4 matches this year. And it's not even we don't even have to be a playoff team for the fans. We just want to see the team do the little things right. And
Right.
we gave up a goal early against Houston. I want to say in like the second or third minute, came back right down 2 minutes later and scored. I would say every FC Cincinnati team the last 2 years give up an early goal, heads drop, game's over. I think those days are behind us right now. And so are they going to be, fighting for MLS Cup? I still think there's a long way to go. They've got a lot of great pieces, but they're just not clicking. If they can get those to click, maybe they're fighting for a playoff spot. But I just want to walk before we run. And you know what? This weekend's a good measuring stick.
Yeah, it's a good mentality, but I'm glad the game is on a Friday night, not on a Wednesday night. I think that also helps you guys out in Cincinnati because it's like, I don't really have to go to a Hell is Real game on a Wednesday night. I got work on Thursday morning.
Yeah. It's crazy to me. MLS, people were talking to me, and it's like I've completely don't have any faith in MLS knowing what's best for MLS anymore. But
never.
Right. So let's get to your prediction, Ari. What do you got?
I said this on the Massive Report podcast, and I'll say it on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I think Cincinnati wins 1-0.
Ooh.
I honestly think this is the first Hell is Real derby, you could say, at like a real world-class soccer stadium. Like, as much as I love Crew Stadium, it is not a stadium built for 2021. It's a stadium built for the early 2000s, mid 2000s, maybe early 2010s. It's not the same facility it used to be. Nippert Stadium's a college football stadium for a team that, if there was an expanded college football playoff, maybe they'd get in. And then they played a game at the ESPN complex in Orlando, Florida, with no fans at 11:30 p.m. in horrible humidity. This is the first Hell is Real in a real world-class soccer facility here, ready for the present times. TQL Stadium is going to be rocking. The atmosphere is going to be amazing for Cincinnati. The Bailey is going to be going nuts. And I think because the Crew is depleted without, a lot of its players, not having Jossie Zardes and probably not having Bradley Wright Phillips, I think they're going to struggle to score goals, and I think the same way that the Crew's atmosphere at Lower.com Field helped to give that energy, that boost of energy for the team for that performance to help with the comeback and almost get the win. I think the same's going to happen for FC Cincinnati. Like you mentioned, it's a game that Jaap Stam needs to win. It's the first rivalry game at this new stadium. It's probably the biggest game at TQL Stadium, maybe for the entire season, because it's Columbus. It's Hell is Real. And I actually think Cincinnati's going to win 1-0. I know my Massive Report people hope I am incredibly, incredibly wrong. Deep down, I might hope that too. I am from Columbus, so, deep down, maybe I want the Crew to win. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game, but I think it's going to end in a 1-0 Cincinnati win. I'm going way outside the box. I rarely pick the Crew to lose.
Well, I like your prediction. I tend to agree with you, except I'm going 2-1, Ori. The reason being, I think finally we're going to see Brenner and we're going to see the offense start to click. I think they're probably going to get a set piece goal, and I think Brenner's probably going to finally get on the scoreboard, and I think he's going to do so early. But I still do not trust FC Cincinnati to not give up stupid mistakes.
Hey, Crew are the kings of scoring silly goals this year. They've got 3 of the stupid or silly own goals this season.
And while they had back-to-back shutouts over their 2 road wins, they gave up some chances. Like Patrick Mullins just missed a wide open net. Who former Crew player. Missed a wide open net. There were definitely opportunities for the other teams to score. Vermeer made some good saves as well. I just don't trust FC Cincinnati right now without Alan Cruz, without Ronald Matarrita to keep a clean sheet. But I am going 2-1 FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's savor the moment in history. Everyone who listens here to March to Match Day, a person from Columbus, from the Massive Report, picking a Hell is Real loss for the Crew. We'll see if I'm wrong. We'll see if I'm right. And deep down, I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. I said it last night, man. I said, these are the games administrations stake their reputation on long term.
Yeah.
So
also,
you're going to get it done.
Right. Also, you can't lose your first 4 games at your new stadium. That just would be such a bad look.
Well, we haven't scored a goal in the last 2, so we'll take at least a goal. Ari, thank you so much for coming on once again, man. No I love everything you guys do at the Massive Report. So tell us where our supporters can find you.
Yeah, so on Twitter, obenatar512, OBENATAR512 if you want to follow myself on Twitter. And of course, massivereport.com for all your crew coverage. We'll get you guys all hyped up from the crew side of things for Hell is Real on Friday at 7:30 from the TQL Stadium down in the West End. Also to check out our Instagram, check out our Twitter. Got plenty of social content there as well. And, you know, we'll also be updating on those crew players during the Gold Cup because the Gold Cup is here. Euros are going to end, but guess what? Gold Cup starts right up. USA is going to play Haiti Sunday night. Jossie Zardes against Derek Etienne Jr. So we'll see if the U.S. men's national team can get a good run going and win its first Gold Cup since 2017. At least that's one team that we can both agree on, right?
Right, 100%. Well, already that takes care of the latest March to Match Day. Make sure all of our listeners check out CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com as well as our latest podcast that dropped Monday night. Tons of great content for the next Hell is Real coming up from our team. Ari, thank you to coming on once again as our guest. And thank you to all of our Cincinnati Soccer Talkers out there for listening. I'm Brad Weigel. Thanks once again for joining us on March to Match Day and onward to 3 points.